talk about fears. Let's talk about love. Yeah, I got fears, but I ain't got no love. Yes, I got fears. Fear of plane crash. Fear of car crash. Oh, fear of sex. Fear of alcohol.
Okay, it's Tuesday. Ken's key clue to the yogurt shop murders. Spent a lot of time on this case, researching as much as I could. The crime scene is going to tell you a lot in this case, and I think that's what it comes down to. You have to look at the crime scene. You have to look at the positioning of the victims' bodies. You have to look at the shop in general, the layout of it. Eventually, that's going to tell you who more than likely committed this. Maybe not by name, and a lot of times you can't do that, but you can deduce it just like a criminal profile does, whether it's a juvenile, whether it's an elderly person, what their financial situations, and all that will play into it. I'm certainly going to get into that. The evidence in this case is not a lot, but a lot, if that makes sense. Meaning, there isn't a lot, but what's there tells you a lot, and it tells me a lot. There was some contradicting evidence that you have to weed through and go back to original sources in order to get the facts. And in this case, I used some trial transcripts again, and I linked that in the first Solved or Unsolved session that came out Monday, but I'll link it again in this video so you can read it for yourself. But what was the key piece of evidence in this case that pointed me in a certain direction? And it took a little bit, I'm not going to lie to you, but it was the bindings. The girls, at least 3 of them, were bound. Now that tells you something. It tells me something. But how they were bound and what with. That in conjunction with a confession that was given when one of the suspects was asked that same question. What were they bound with? That is the key clue to me. They were bound by their own clothing. Now, why is that significant, you might be asking? Well, it's very significant, and I'll tell you why. I was going to wait until Wednesday to tell you. I'll get in more into it Wednesday, but to me, you could say it rules out premeditation, right? Because if someone intended to do this, they would bring their own bindings. Think of Ted Bundy and murder kit. You have certain things in there that you will use. But that isn't always the case. In this instant, to me, my opinion, based off of my training and my experience with cold cases, I would say that the reason they used their own clothing as bindings is because the offender had done it before. And I'll get into why I believe that tomorrow on the deep dive. 3 of the 4 girls being bound. I'll get into why the 4th girl was or was not bound tomorrow. And I'll get into a whole criminal profiling aspect of this and how I, or any, well, I can't say any criminal profiler because everybody does things different, but how I look at the scene and start deducing certain things like the bindings, like the killings. You know, why, if this is a burglary, why do you kill? There's 2 reasons for that, and I'll get into that. And off of that, you can deduce who more than likely the possible suspect is. Stuff like if it was a planned rape, then why is money missing? All of that. It seems complicated and convoluted, but it's really not. You just start deducing. You start taking away, okay, well, this is a fact, and because that's a fact, we can remove this from the equation. And we'll filter it down to more than likely who I think is responsible for these brutal homicides. Hey, I don't want to keep going. That's Ken's key clue. Heck, we're only 5 minutes and 37 seconds in here, but there's no reason to keep harping on it when it's already I said and done. The key clue is the bindings, and I'll tell you more about it and why it is come Wednesday. So that's it. That's your little 5-minute section for Ken's key clue. It's short, concise, short and sweet, just like me. Main's out.